is, boy, are you guys naive. I think you change for the worse. Israel is an easy analysis for him, right? They're under attack. I'm with them. Right now, he's in a tough spot because Bibi doesn't want to get out of the Iran situation, and
Mhm.
Trump's going to have to use his leverage. I think that's actually the easiest part of this for him. But he says, I didn't change. I am MAGA. MAGA's whatever I say it is in the moment. Marjorie
Mm.
Taylor Greene isn't with it. She bought into bullshit about Epstein, and she bought into bullshit about me for her own popularity, but I'm still me. Trump is always Trump. You changed.
I don't think I bought into any bullshit about Jeffrey Epstein. He's a convicted pedophile, and my entire political career was sacrificed on fighting against the president himself to release the Epstein files. So nothing ever changed about me.
Oh, wait,
Um,
I wanna give you a chance on that. His people say to
uh,
me all the time, and this is not going back to put your what you this is something you're gonna want to address, where they say, "Yeah, yeah, he never said anything to her about, Epstein files and his friends and people gonna get exposed that he didn't want." He never
mhm,
said anything like that. What is the truth?
mhm. The truth is, he called me from the White House, and I was in my office in the Rayburn building, and I had a very tough phone call with the president where he told me that his friends were going to get hurt. He said, "People that you know, Marjorie, in Palm Beach," he said, "they're my friends and they're going to get hurt if these files come out." And I said, "I'm sorry, Mr. President. I'm not taking my name off that discharge petition. Jeffrey Epstein is a rapist, he's a pedophile, and these files need to come out. This is what we campaigned on. This is transparency, and the victims deserve it." I actually told him also, I asked him to have these women to the White House, to the Oval Office. He has all kinds of people in the Oval Office. He has sports teams. He has the new leader of Syria, who is a former terrorist.
Yeah, ISIS.
He ISIS, he had Mamdani, the new mayor of New
Mhm,
York, who he constantly attacked and criticized.
mhm.
He will have anybody
Not
in that
them.
Oval Office, but he will not have the
No way.
victims that were raped as teenage girls by Jeffrey Epstein and other men to the Oval Office. And I asked him to do that, and he absolutely refused. So I don't care what his people say. I will tell the truth over and over again about that phone call, just as I will tell the truth about the text messages where he said, and I informed him about the death threats that we had coming in on my own son. And I told him that I said, no matter the disagreement in politics, no one's children should ever be threatened or murdered. It's totally unacceptable. And he told me it was my fault and
Mhm.
that I deserved it.
Yeah, I
And
I got the
so
I got the same message. When when I said to him, "Look, I know what I signed up for. I know what my brother signed up for. I get it. I get the Fredo shit. I think it's ethnically insulting, and you should know that as a guy who grew up around a lot of Italians, which he did, but I get all that. But you're making my kids own this, and it's not right. I don't go after his kids, and they're all adults.
no.
Now he's forced my hand because the son's getting involved with these businesses that are getting government contracts is just stupid. I don't know why they're doing this. They don't need to do
Mhm.
this. But I never went after his kids. Never, even though they're adults. And I got the same message. This is on you. Be nice, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Wow. So see, if he said the same thing to you that he said to me about the death threats on my son, then he has a clear pattern of saying that. So he doesn't care if anyone's children die because we're disagreeing with him, which shows this is why he doesn't care that children were bombed and murdered in Iran. He wouldn't care. He would say, I would deserve it if my son were murdered because he's calling me a traitor for standing with women who were raped as teenagers. And he's saying the same thing to you that if something terrible were to happen to your children, well, you shouldn't have said what you said and you deserve it.
Well, look, I'm sure he would say, I don't wanna see kids get hurt. His higher value is, though, you're against him. If you're against
But he
him,
doesn't say that.
if you
Chris, he never said
well, I
that.
mean,
He
look,
never said to me, no, he didn't say that.
oh, I
If
believe
he
you.
had have
I
said
believe you.
that, if he had have said, I don't wanna see kids get hurt, then I would be saying he said he
Right.
didn't want to see
I
kids, but
gotcha.
he did not say that. He said, it's your fault and you deserve it. He said, you deserve it. You deserve for your son to be killed for going against him to release the Epstein files. That's what he said to me.
So why do you think he allowed the Epstein transparency crowd? And remember, he put Kash Patel and Dan
Mhm.
Bongino in positions of extraordinary power on the basis of this, that they were out front saying, oh, there's a lot in there, there's a lot in there, there's a lot in there. And then he never delivered. Why did he make it a part of the MAGA campaign if he didn't ever intend to allow it to come out?
I have no idea. I, I can't even begin to answer that
I mean,
question.
isn't that crazy? If somebody came to you and said, "Hey, part of your next campaign is going to be like the 3 things that you hate about yourself," you would say, "No, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want that's not helpful to me." Why did
Mhm.
he do it?
I have no idea. I I can't even begin to speculate.
I often think when I was reviewing for this, there are people in your position now you got Nancy. I think, look, on Epstein, you have high ground. I mean, there's just no other way to see it, in my opinion. I'm not saying that people should be, you know, uh, pilloried or canceled or whatever, but the idea of transparency is really simple. And that's what you guys were about. You, Nancy Mace, APL, Anna Paulina Luna.
No, she didn't sign her name on the discharge petition. There were only 4 of us: Thomas Massey,
Right.
myself, Nancy Mace, and Lauren
And Lauren
Boebert.
Boebert. That's who I'm thinking of. Lauren
Yeah,
Boebert.
Anna Paulina Luna, she refused to sign her name on the discharge petition.
But do you see her as an ally in the Epstein transparency cause overall or no?
No, I see her completely obedient to whatever the White House tells her to be, which
Even,
is why she didn't sign the discharge petition. She was just like the rest of the all the Republicans were cowards, Chris, all of them. They were so first off, let's be clear. The Democrats never cared about the Epstein files.
mhm,
If they had, they would have gone
mhm,
hard charging into
mhm.
that
Fair.
during the 4 years they had control.
Fair. You
They
don't
would
believe the
have
Ghislaine Maxwell excuse where they say, "Oh, well, there was an
Oh
ongoing
no.
litigation."
No, I don't believe any of it because I never heard one single Democrat that I served with. And I served under Nancy Pelosi when she was Speaker. I served all 4 years under President Biden. And I never, ever heard a Democrat bring up the Epstein files. They only latched onto it when they found out, oh my gosh, people really care about this.
Mm.
This is a big deal. Then they heard us talking about it. And then they latched onto it, and all of a sudden they were all for it. So when it came to the discharge petition, you can only get a resolution or a bill to the floor for a vote if only 2 ways. The speaker says, let's move this bill through committee and bring it to the floor for a vote. And then the second way is if the speaker refuses, which Mike Johnson had a lock on that resolution
Mhm.
because he was being told by the White House and by Trump, do not let that bill, do not let it get a vote. So we had to create a discharge petition. Well, all the Democrats jumped on immediately because it was an attack on Trump in their eyes. But there were only 4 Republicans,
Mhm.
Massey, myself, Mace, and Boebert, that had the courage to sign on to it. And the rest of the Republicans were straight up cowards,
Mm.
even though they had campaigned on release the Epstein files. They only voted for it because the public outrage was so immense for
Mhm.
months through the government shutdown and all the months leading into that. It was the number one call that came into my office, and we received thousands of calls every single day. God bless my staff that had to go through all the voicemails and answer the phones, but it was the number one call for months and months and months. And the Republicans that finally did vote for it, because 4 of us held on the front lines as we were being attacked and yelled at and being threatened by Donald Trump and threatened by the White House and threatened by Speaker Johnson and threatened by everybody because we signed our name on there. Well, finally, when we passed that discharge petition and the resolution did come to the floor for a vote, oh, all of a sudden, all these Republicans found their courage and voted to release
Trump
the
signed it.
files. He had to. That was the one place we forced his hand. He had to because he couldn't politically survive it. And he also
Mhm.
signed it, Chris. And let's be honest, because look at what has happened. All the files have not been
Nope.
released
They
because he is in charge of the DOJ. He's in charge of the FBI. He's in charge of the entire executive branch that controls that key function.
And do you have any question in your mind whether Todd Blanche and all these other people are being straight with the American people when they say, "No, we've given you everything that there is"?
I'll say this very clearly. Every single one of them, whether their intentions are good or bad or indifferent, every single one of them serve at the pleasure of President Donald Trump. Therefore, every single one of them are under his directive and what he commands them to do. And that is the most significant thing that everyone needs to keep in mind when they are seeing a Todd Blanche or a Pam Bondi or a Kash Patel or whomever it is. All of those people have their jobs because they were appointed those jobs by President Trump. Therefore, they are not going to cross him. They are not the only, I mean, look at the only people that have crossed him. There's only a handful of us. You've got Joe Kent, he resigned. You've got myself, Thomas Massey, who just got
Mhm.
taken out in his election. You've got Nancy Mace, who just lost her election, and you've got Lauren Boebert, who President Trump has said he's calling for a primary on her.
Mhm.
So there's
And
not
Tulsi,
many.
you put Tulsi on that list?
Well, Tulsi, she resigned with her husband's cancer.
Right.
I think Tulsi did a very honorable job, but I wouldn't say Tulsi crossed the president.
Well, I don't think it's crossing either. You don't take an oath to the president. You take an oath of
No, she
service,
shouldn't.
and his name's not even in it. In terms of, even the office isn't in it. So when MAGA folks say to you,